Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Haziq bin Yusof. My SB is Dr. Hafiz Sakawi and my panel is Dr. Farah Ashkin and Encik Wan Nur Aisyah. Today, I will present my PSM2 project. The topic is development of microcontroller based on robust LQR control for DC-DC zeta converter. So, for the introduction for this PSM, today electronic system DC-DC zeta converter is commonly utilized as a power supply. A switch mode converter DC output current varies in response to load change. The PWM is common method for control the output of power supply. To prevent this situation, DC-DC data converter with LQR control, there is a coding that will control the voltage and will overcome the cause of problem in load DC data circuit. So, the objective for this PSM first is to design circuit DC-DC data converter in hardware. Second is to get the stable voltage output as a final result for this PSM. The problem statement is most of the research look at develop robust LQR control DC-DC data converter. The project, however, was only complete utilizing a simulation environment. As a result, in BCM circuit design and development as well as microcontroller programming, the LQR control based on DC-DC data converter should be investigated. Next is hardware for connection of DC-DC data converter. We need to know the suitable component for dual connection, and each component have a certain function. So it cannot just to choose any circuit. We must to do investigate the circuit and identify the circuit first. So let's go to the methodology. First is power supply. We go through the DC data converter, and microcontroller will do a coding such as LQR control, and lastly it will be the output result at the load. So the result discussion, as we can see my picture, that is DC data circuit etching breadboard and testing for DC hardware, and we use an oscilloscope to get the output. So conclusion for this project, based on the project with microcontroller, it will be using LQR control stable output of voltage load. Besides that, the DC data converter and function of each component is limited. Another, we should able to learn how Arduino to create in this project. We can learn to simulation to do the DC data converter. So this is for my design. We can go through my demonstration video for the hardware circuit. That's all for me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Aziz bin Yusof. Today I will present my hardware result for DC data converter. So for this circuit, we use the voltage amplifier for this circuit. That is supply the 5 volt, and we to change to 15 volt. As we can see at multimeter, the 50 volt we connect to the DC data circuit. Okay, so we'll check the output for this data circuit. As you can see at oscilloscope, this is the result for output load. Okay, so next we'll measure the MOSFET for pin 3. Okay, as we can see at oscilloscope, the result will. Okay, so I will explain the project testing for DC data circuit. First, it will through the VS. Fan is 7390 ms, and through the current sensor and voltage sensor that is provide 15 volt. The Arduino will give the PWM output that link is to pin 1 and pin 2 gate driver. But for this project, the gate driver just get the very low voltage around millivolt, that is around 439 millivolt. So it is difficult to on the gate driver. So for the gate driver on this circuit are not suitable for DC data circuit to function correctly. So we decide to try on the breadboard, but it's still too hard to get the good output for this circuit. Okay, so that's all for my PSM project, that is research of development of microcontroller robust LQR control for DC Zeta converter. Thank you for me, Muhammad Haziq bin Yusuf.